Hey y'all, I'm Mara. Who's okay? Nailed it. Who's first time here? Nice! Happy New Year! Welcome. Okay, all you veterans that just saw those hands go up, you go and you find those people, you put them in the know, teach them the secret handshake, all the business. No, thank you guys for coming out. It is a dampish night, and we value that you make this a priority. So for all the rest of you guys, I love you. I'm going to do a quick kind of roundup. I don't think I was at the last one, which I was sad to miss, but I know you all were here. So we got a couple of things going on. We've got Portland Music Month. Is anybody not clear, and it's okay to be, there's no judgment here, anybody not know what Portland Music Month is? Okay. Portland Music Month is a Music Oregon joint. Music Oregon is the partner organization of Music Portland. It is a 501c3. Music Portland is a nonprofit trade organization. You don't need to know that. But Portland Music Month is a month-long citywide celebration of our music industry that connects fans, businesses, the tourism sector, the venues, and the artists all together in what is a massive promotion to get people out that have never been out to see live music, to discover new bands, to have people that love music find their next favorite, and to raise money for the Echo Fund. Last year we gave away almost $60,000 to musician grants, and yeah, come on, clap for that. And this year we're hoping to top 100. We're also, just by the by, we are lobbying hard to get a piece of that RAC money that's being redistributed. So we're going to be pushing hard to get some of that out into our culture as well. So Portland Music Month, there are some posters back there. If you guys have a local coffee shop that everybody goes to, there are some posters back there. Please take one or two. I didn't bring a ton, but take them and hang them in places where they're going to get good visibility. We want lots of people out at shows because every ticket includes a donation to the Echo Fund. Other big news that's happening is we have, and as part of Portland Music Month, we have the amazing Portland Music Month highly collectible limited edition fanny pack. And everybody should have one. They are for sale in the back. They're $12. All the money goes directly to the Echo Fund. So get yourself a fanny pack. You want it.
Talk to me if you want one. There's a QR code over here to buy one.
All right, so we are good to go. The other thing that's happening in January that is super exciting, it's in its second year, is a music video month. We have Dan Eason here, who is the crazy genius that came up with this idea. It's really expanded in the second year where, how many people are making videos, do you know?
We don't have an exact number of videos. We have 32 sign-ups at this point.
Okay, so 32 different projects in the mix with Music Video Month to make music videos in a month when Dan and his team have negotiated insanely deep discounts on all the things that you need to make a music video. You need to rent a top-notch camera, you need a location, you need stock video, any of those things. They're all super cheap if you're making a music video in this month. There's also this year, you've added in some performances that are live music video filming opportunities that include audiences. We're going to be adding those to the Portland Music Month calendar and making sure that you all know about them because you want to be in the music video. And also it supports some amazing spaces like the Hoxton Hotel and Jackpot Studios that are hosting some of these video shoots. Did I forget anything, Dan? Awesome. We also have, coming into a new year, Happy New Year, everybody. 2024, it's going to be great. Isn't it weird? Like, I don't know. It's like you don't want to jinx anything by,
It's going to be better.
Fair. I'll take better. I will take better. So anyway, we're coming into it. One of the things we really want to focus on this year is building out some real committees of people that are going to really engage with Music Portland. Some of you know, we've been having some personal stuff going on in my realm, and I've had to step away from some things. As in the middle of Portland Music Month coming out, and I have been humbled by the incredible generosity and kindness of people stepping into the fray and realizing, for me, I'm the kind that like put my head down, like I'm gonna do this thing, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. I don't leave much space for people. And realizing that when I needed them, all those people were there. And so this year, I really want to look at how do we make this an organization that isn't led by Renee and I, pushing as hard as we can, but is a collaboration of people. It's a real movement of people that are making the city of music that we deserve to have. So look for Renee's outreach. We're going to start talking about the different ways that people can participate, and I hope everybody will. What am I forgetting, Renee? Yeah, both of.
What's that? How to join?
Oh, yeah. And also in February, we're going to be rolling out a whole new website, a whole new membership system that includes a whole bunch of new benefits. So if you want to get in at the $25 a year mark, get yourself a year at $25, join now, musicportland.org/join. After the new system comes out, it's going to be $35 a year for a working musician. For freelancers, for solo entrepreneurs, it's going to be $100. For full businesses with employees, it's going to be $250. So it's still incredibly affordable for the amount of work that we do and the change that we're making. Oh yeah, God, there's so much. I just got off recording a podcast with Michael Jonas of Rational Unicorn Legal Services. Yeah, I know. We love that guy. And he, as a member benefit, is going to be hosting monthly office hours for musicians so that you can go in small groups, members only, and hang out with an attorney and ask the questions that are vexing you. Ask, like, what do I do about this? Or I saw this thing, or this phrase came up. Is this okay? And he is actually writing a book about this, so he's got the answers. So it's just one of the many benefits. We've got it on the 18th of January. I'm lying. It's the 22nd. You can see who does the work in the organization. On the 22nd, and it is at where?
Artichoke Music, Monday, January 22nd. At what time? 7 to 9 p.m.
See, my lips are moving as the sound is coming out. But all right, that's it for me. Renee's going to introduce our panel, and we're going to get off and running. Thank you, guys.
I'm going to do this for a minute. Okay, yeah, I'm really excited. I would like to hear from people who tour a lot because I'm a musician and I haven't done a lot of that. So this was kind of like, all for me, really. So thank you. So it sounds like other people resonate with it as well. I'm really excited. I'm going to introduce our panel. If y'all want to come up here, come on up. Panelists. We also have an additional panelist today that was a surprise guest we're excited about. I'm going to go ahead and just say, in no particular order here, Missy is our moderator for tonight. Missy is on the board of Music Portland and is in a band called Mojo Holler, who does about 60 shows a year regionally. So she tours quite a bit herself. And then we've got over here on the right, we have our very own Cool Nutz, who is, I don't think I need to say who he is, but I'm going to. He really shaped the hip hop scene here in Portland, and that's not an overstatement at all. And then also he is the tour manager for Creed Bratton from The Office, if you know The Office. So we also have, over here, Maita-Keppeler, who is from the band Maita. Yes. They are on Kill Rock Stars and play over 100 shows a year. So she's done a lot of coordinating, touring, tour managing, and I'm sure has a lot to say. We have over here, I'm going to skip you for a second, Eben Hoffer, who is the tour manager for Esperanza Spalding. Just, he is starting to branch out with other artists as well, he was saying. And he also formerly has done a lot of production managing for theater as well. So kind of a cool, different background. I think we have a pretty good spectrum of folks here tonight. As a surprise guest tonight, he reached out to us. This is Sam Cole. Sam Cole is the production manager for the Lumineers. So this is just a small-time panel, Thanks for coming. I think I'm going to go ahead and hand it to Missy to start this off. Here we go.
Thank you. Let's give a big hand to Renee and Mara and Kate. Our board chairwoman is sitting right here, Kate O'Brien. Thanks for being here tonight. I'm excited. I'm intimidated now. Yeah, it's great to have everybody here. I'm going to start with a touring horror story that I heard once. It's not really a horror story, but it's a funny story. So, how many people know who Danny Barnes is? He's a great banjo player. Have I told you this story? Okay, so Danny Barnes is one of my favorite musicians. In a past life, I got to do some music journalism and got to interview a lot of really cool people. And I would place him up there with like Neil Young of the people that I've gotten to interview that I thought was super cool. But Danny told me this story about, and I think he tells lots of people about this, but he was playing a show with a full band in West Texas, and he had to go from, San Marcos, which is in central Texas, and it's a huge state. So to go play in West Texas is like 7-8 hour drive. Took the full band to a venue that he'd been playing for years that had a crotchety owner. This dude was, getting on up there. Have you ever heard of that? And so they get out there, and on the window of the venue was this big sign that said, "Policy change. Musicians now play for tips only." And it was like this big poster on the front thing, and he had his whole band with him. Everybody gets kind of bummed out. And he says, "I have an idea." So he goes in to confirm that this indeed is true. And the guy's like, I don't know if they had a contract or not, but they decided to set everything up out on the sidewalk in front of the venue if they were going to have to play for tips. And they made double what he had originally thought that they would make when they showed up to the venue. And I thought that was a really good way to make lemonade. So, all right, well, I thought we could start out with some of the obvious questions. But before... Oh, yeah. Let's do stories. Do you want to tell a horror story or a good story about touring that you think would be valuable to the audience?
Tell somewhat of a horror, not a horror story, but a story. We were on the road headed to Vancouver, BC, and the artist I'm with, his tour manager, kept telling us that he had a name similar to what I think might be a terrorist. So as we keep, and he keeps mentioning that, every time I come into the country, I have to get taken back to the customs booth, and they talk to me for, a couple hours until they figure out who I am. And so we pull up to the Canadian border. We're in a minivan. I'm driving. The DJ is next to me, and then it's actually Devin, the dude, and his manager are behind in the back seats. And so as we pull up to the border, I'm talking to the customs guy. He's like, "So what are you guys here for?" I'm like, we're here for a show. We're playing blah, 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 blah. He's super nice to me, too, like looking me straight in the eyes. And then out of nowhere, he just, in mid-conversation, goes, "Oh, yeah, turn the car off and put your hands on the steering wheel." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And then I turn the car off, put my hands on the steering wheel, look up, and we're surrounded by customs agents with their guns out, from every angle. And that's how, and the thing that's amazing with that is like, he kept my attention so much that none of us even saw the whole thing happening until it happened. And then they take us out the car, cuff us, take us inside, and talk to us for 1 or 2 hours until they verify his identity. And they're like, "Well, why you're in here?" And I'm like, "Yeah, my buddy has a name similar to whoever this person is." But they let us go and let us go back, go on the road. But that was one of the few times where, you know, you're on the road and you're not doing anything wrong, you're minding your business, and then you get drug into somebody else's stuff where you think you might be going to, you know, Canadian jail or customs jail or whatever. But that just sticks out to me. But the practices of how they did it is what was more, it was impressive. You know what I mean? Like, it's a definite skill set. So that's my story.
Really good to know. And if you'd like to use a different microphone, you're welcome to, or I can just hand this down. Totally up to you. All right. I mean, if you're worried about just my mouth and his mouth. Okay. I feel at home now.
Check, hey. Yeah, am I next? Yes. Okay. I guess it's funny, like, tour stories, the ones you remember are the mishaps. But this was like a few years ago, several years ago, and I feel like the best stories happen in really small towns. And we played this small town where we had 2 rooms, and so our drummer and bass player were rooming together, and so they had a set of keys, and then me and Matthew, who runs the band with me, we had the other set of keys, and we went out to a bar right across the street from our little hotel, which didn't have like 24-hour reception, it just closes. And we went to bed at a reasonable hour, and then it was just the drummer and bass player out. And I guess one of them decided to go to bed with the keys in his pocket, while the other one stayed out a little bit longer at the bar. And shortly before I went to bed, I grabbed the van keys from the bass player, and I also took his coat up, I think, to the room for him or something. So he just had a little Pendleton flannel. And so we all went to bed, and the next morning we awoke with a string of first okay texts that quickly turned into very desperate texts of, oh God, I'm so cold. Someone please help me. And basically the bar closed. He couldn't get into the hotel. He threw all of his quarters at our windows. And then he had no money left to buy himself anything at all to help him get through the night. There was a convenience store across the street where he couldn't get a hot chocolate or anything. And no one woke up because what happened was the room that he shared with our drummer had 2 beds in it. One of them was located in the closet, and they had flipped for the room in the closet, and his drummer had lost. And so his drummer was asleep behind a couple layers of doors. And this guy, basically, he spent the entire night outside. And he swiped right on everyone on Tinder he was just desperate from ages of 18 to 85. He just swiped right on he was desperate. It was like hard times. And I woke up and I went downstairs and I was like asking the staff, like, oh God, like, did you see my friend? And the staff who had come at 8 a.m. to get the kitchen started were like, oh, yeah, he's not doing too good. And it was the quietest night quietest drive in the van we've ever had. And we talked to our drummer and we were like, yeah, we got these desperate text messages that were just like, oh God, please help me. And our drummer was like, oh, I didn't get those texts. Like, he got a whole different set of text messages. But anyways, we laugh about it now, but I think it was really very, very horrible. So the moral of the story is that make sure everyone has a key to the hotel.
How was the show, the very next show?
I think that it was fine. Honestly, I think it took like a few hours he's like the best natured person you could ever know. And it was the first time that I've ever seen him like that. And so it was like scary to see. And it lasted like 2 hours, 3 hours. And then all of a sudden he was like, that sucked. And then he was fine. He wanted to like get his drummer back. but I don't think he even has the heart to do that anymore. It's like, yeah, but yeah.
Well, I don't really know if I can follow that. That was incredible, Maita. I feel like tour is just a series of chances to lose things, and I feel like between losing stuff and travel, like that, I feel like there's 90% of the mishaps that go on, and for me, it's a combination of both. So I was tour managing this hippie band with like 12 people in it, and before we left home, I had everyone check their passports. I made sure that they had them. We were going into Canada, and I think like 3 weeks later, we're playing in Burlington, Vermont. We finished the gig. It's an amazing show. The audience comes up on stage. It's just total chaos. And like we're about to leave that night, and I do the passport check again. And wouldn't you know it, lead singer can't find his passport. We're like 4 hours from the border. There's a show the next morning, and so like for that tour, he was riding with his partner and their kid in an RV. So we like tossed the RV. We're like looking in cupboards and under all the knickknacks and, you know, whatever, in mattresses and stuff, and we can't find it. And finally, like, earlier that tour, I'd gotten his mom's phone number because we played at his hometown and she came out to the show. So I figured out you could get someone into Canada with a birth certificate and a driver's license. So I called his mom at 4 a.m. her time, and bless her heart, she, like, sent us the birth certificate, and through that and a very kind border agent. I feel like those Canadian border agents are like the nicest people in the universe, even when they're surrounding you with guns. We managed to get him in and do the show, but I feel like, yeah, check your passports a week before, not the night before.
It's always the lead singer.
Okay, so I was doing a mini tour of, this is from my pre-music days, I was doing a mini tour of 3 performance art shows on like a European thing. It was 5 cities in France, and then we were gonna go to Zagreb, Croatia for our big exotic experience. And it was like a dance show, an algorithmically developed music show where the score was different and played into their ears differently every night, that was working from Yesterday by the Beatles to Tomorrow from Annie, over about 75 different generations. That was cool. And then like a super techie theater-y thing. Great, super cool. The Croatian Ministry of Culture decided to not fund our project after we left the United States. So we did get to Croatia and realized that we didn't have a theater anymore. So we did like surreptitiously record the conversations with the government people and then called the people back in New York. What are we gonna do? Oh my God, oh my God. So they called up somebody who we knew who did a Balkan queer theater festival in New York every year. And like, you live in Zagreb, right? Can you help? Like, absolutely. If you want to self-produce your little festival with the money that you were gonna, you know, the grant money you were gonna spend on this, we can try to figure that out. And the Croatian government people they relented. They said, all right, we can afford to get you a theater on the other side of town, and we can afford to give you a bunch of interns to run the box office and stuff, but you have to do the rest of it yourself. Oh, and we'll let you use our wood shop, because also all of your scenery is stuck in customs somewhere in Italy. So we're like, I think that this stuff will make it. I'm sure that this stuff will make it. This will be great. It's bleachers. The seating is bleachers. They have bleachers in the UK, right? They do not have bleachers in the EU. Nobody watches sports like that there. So we're like, all right, we'll make it out of wood. Does anybody have the plans? We do not have the plans. Okay. Does anybody have the plans in metric? No? Okay, great. So we'll estimate the size of all the seating, and then we'll go to a Croatian lumber store, and we, based off of what you did this morning, tour manager, we will purchase some lumber and have them pre-cut it. And reader, I was almost correct. It was only a little too short. And then they've agreed that you can build it in the Croatian National Theater woodshop, which you can then do with 2 guys they had left over. With a large painting on the wall that has a picture of a martini and an equal sign and a picture of a headstone. And did we drink some of their homemade hooch that day as we were cutting things? Yes, we did. But the show happened. We only had to cut one of them, and they were happy. They went to Venice. And that's my story.
Thank you. Well, let's start with obvious questions. So in the audience, let's find out where we stand. How many people, have we already asked this question? How many people actively tour? Okay. How many people used to actively tour and don't do it, maybe since COVID? Okay. And of you who tour, regional tourists? Is tourist the right word? Okay. Yep. And then do we have any people that do national or international touring in the audience? Okay, great. So we've got a nice cross-section here. So what should an artist who's looking to tour be thinking about in terms of being ready for that? I feel like this should be a bit of a logistical discussion because it's a mystery in my mind as to how one goes to Croatia and builds some bleachers. But like that's a metaphor for going to New York also, like building the bleachers in New York. So can we maybe get your views on when to know you're ready, and then maybe riff from that over to when you might know that you're ready for a tour manager?
I think the most important thing about deciding when to tour is when you start seeing that the reach to fans in other places have occurred. Because, of course, that's the whole point of you don't want to go on the road and play places where you aren't able to generate revenue or sell merch or things of that nature. So I think that once you start seeing that you have a fan base in other cities, I watched an artist from Seattle, literally watch his Spotify numbers and markets and picked all of his dates by those markets. And as he went on tour, every show that he picked in those markets was successful. He decided to do it on weekends, so he would only do Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So he would pick Portland, Eugene, and maybe Bend if the numbers were strong enough. If he did California, it would be Oakland, Sacramento, and LA. But the thing that he recognized was that he had the fan base to go out and sustain being on the road. Because I think the most important thing is people don't realize it's not like doing a one-off show. If you go to Eugene or you go to Seattle, you're on the road providing for yourself as well as whoever else is on the road with you. Every day you're paying for gas. Every day you're paying for food and accommodations. You're incurring costs every day to be on the road. So I think you have to be mindful, do you have the fan base and the abilities to sustain being on the road? So I would say decide when you actually know that you're not gonna go broke unless you have funding or unless you have an investor that believes in you, that says we can grow it. I watched Tech Nine. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Tech Nine from Kansas City. I watched Tech Nine go from playing shows with 60 people, Sunnyside, California, or Sunnyvale, whichever one it is, 60 people there. One time we go in a van with, 15-passenger van and a trailer to you move forward 3 years, and these 2 tour buses strong now, 1,500 people in the crowd. But I think you have to have the temperament and the belief in yourself and your talents to get out there. You have to be willing to invest in yourself, to be able to see it grow. Nothing will happen if you don't take the chances. So I think that you have to see that you have the for one, you also have to have the talent to go out on the road, and everybody wants to play somewhere. Everybody has the belief that people love their songs as much as you love your song, which is not always the case, But you have to know that when you're going out on the road, you have the ability to grow your fan base. You have the ability to generate revenue. And then the whole thing is you're not just looking at this tour, you're looking at the next, 2-3 tours. You're looking at, okay, I did the West Coast. Now, next time I'm going to do the Midwest. Hopefully I can make it to Canada, or if there's Europe in the possibility. So I think that's the biggest important thing, is knowing that you have the fan base to be on the road and that you're going to get those calls, and that whether it's social media, people are checking in from different places around the country or even in your region. You can start, just in Oregon, and then Northern California, Southwest Washington, Idaho, and different things like that, and then build from there, but have some type of plan for what you want to do. That's pretty much.
I think that makes a lot of sense. I also think that it depends on your goals when you're touring, and also your genre of music. For example, if you play in a kick-ass country band, like, you can go make money on the road right away if you have good recording and you can have a lot of booking savvy and just book yourself like bar gigs that will pay really well and people can just see you and appreciate you right away. So that's one thing. Also, if you're in a DIY scene, if you can get plugged into a DIY scene, you can go play for rooms with built-in audiences just because you can plug into these already very rich music communities of kids that are stoked to go to shows. And a lot of times the only way to really meet those people is to go on tour and to network with your friends and be like, what's the cool house show to play in this town? And what's the cool... And if you can get connected with the right DIY scenes, it might be a lot slower of a climb up to a point where it's financially prosperous, but you can build a really loyal grassroots fan base that way. And so I think that that's also something that can be really valuable depending on what your goals are. Because if you're prepared to just have fun and go out on the road and try to make fans and make friends and make connections, I think that touring can be a really good way to do that. It's also a really good way to break your band in, because I think a lot of times bands, like, I've seen it happen where bands get really big before they've ever toured at all. And so when they finally are big enough to tour, they don't really know how to do it, and they aren't good in front of an audience yet. And so I do think there's a little bit of merit in going out just so that you can break your band in and like learn how to play every type of room, because no matter what level you're at, you're gonna play rooms where people aren't listening and people don't like you. And it's kind of like trying out material. Like, it's like good, it's a good experience, and it will strengthen your band if everyone has the right attitude. And it's also a good way to figure out, oh, that person doesn't have the right attitude. I'm glad we found that out before we went on the huge tour, So I do think there is merit to touring, and I think that, for example, like when I was first starting out, I did a lot of touring before I had a fan base, and it was kind of miserable because you play a lot of like wineries, where you're like in the background. And I was grateful because I was very green and I was able to cut my teeth on performing. And then as soon as I got my fill of it, I was like, let's stop that. And now we look at a show and say, are we getting two of these things? Are we getting either a new audience to play for, new bands that we really respect that we want to connect with, or a good guarantee, or just a really fun experience? And we try to make sure that we're like meeting a couple of those. And if we can book a tour where like all the shows have at least a couple of those components, then we feel good about going out on the road. So that's, yeah.
I feel like y'all both hit so many great points there, like knowing that, touring, you're playing almost every day, so it's an opportunity to really get the band tight in a way that you just can't. Like, you can't play 5 gigs a week at home, but you can play 5 markets a week on the road, and really like you see bands like go out on tour, and when they come home, the hometown show is amazing because they've been workshopping that stuff and shedding it so much. And Cool Nutz, like, you're totally right. Like, every day on the road is a day you're paying people, you're paying gas, you're feeding people, you're feeding yourselves. Like, it's lodging and all that kind of stuff. So I would say, like, getting your finances straight, making sure that you have a plan, knowing what your expenses are going to be, and being honest with yourselves about like what kind of investment this is going to be. Like, and also, I mean, thinking about it from a personal level as well. Like, we've all, like, relationships on the road are really hard. Like, being able to maintain the relationships with the people you love back home, with your support system back home, Like making sure that that stuff is really solid before you're going to take time away from those people, and that you have ways to talk to them to maintain contact, whatever it is. I think, like, I imagine we'd all probably agree that, like, that's one of the hardest things about being out there. So making sure that that's a solid thing before you take off.
Yeah, that's really smart. Oh, you're really smart. Yeah, depending on what your budget is and who the people in the group are, figuring out, so where are we going to sleep and how are we going to sleep? It's a question about money. It's a question about proximity to where you're playing, depending on what you're doing, and being real with yourself about balancing those things. If you are in a situation where somebody else is driving the van, you know, do you have to take, are you in a situation where people have to take Ubers to the hotel, and that will cost as much as getting the hotel that's closer to the venue, probably, for example? Things like that. Can you actually all sleep in a little camper van together, and it's cool and fun? Or is that going to cost you years of your life and only hundreds of dollars if you were to do something else? There's a, realness to be had there.
And what effect that has on the shows too? Like if you're not sleeping, if you're not eating, like, are you gonna play good?
Yeah. You gotta sleep.
Can you hit on that too? Just like how the health issue is kind of on my list of questions to talk about. Not just mental health, but also like physical health and food. We were talking about like McDonald's. I mean, we turn up our nose at McDonald's, but sometimes it's the only place open at night and you're starving to death. So can you guys hit on that a little?
Yeah, I can try to, for sure. Yeah, especially if you have people with, with dietary restrictions and you have people with allergies, the options get really narrow really fast, which you have to be very, very clear about in your advancing. Someone will die if there's a peanut in the building. I mean it. I'll kill you if there's a peanut because one of my people will be dead. Trust me, I mean it. I'll kill you. Do you see me? I'll kill you. That energy is honed, right? Costco is great. Costco is your friend. Like knowing where they are, having stops along your path to get food such that you can feed yourself in the way that you want to. Being able to do that in day rooms or hotel rooms or in the back of the van. Figuring out if people are comfortable with sharing food with each other is really important. Trying to get, if you don't have a place to sleep that you know where it's going to be, trying to get the earliest load in you possibly can so that people can spread out a little bit inside the venue and be able to, stretch a little bit and then move around the neighborhood before things are going. What else? That kind of stuff. Yeah, who else is smarter than me? Everybody, come on.
I don't know, I feel like you really hit the nail on the head.
Just like all of the things. It's just like go down your checklist and then like have a checklist of that shit. Is the deal, as far as I know.
I think one of the biggest things for me was even with just alcohol on the road and getting free alcohol on the road, especially if you're in an environment where you're getting, say you have a rider and you're getting a lot of free alcohol and you have alcohol always around, and then before sound check and load in, you're sitting there on the bus and you're looking at that cabinet and it has, Grey Goose or whatever. I want to have a drink. I think that's one of the things you have to be mindful of, protecting yourself and your energy, because, 30, 45 days of drinking alcohol, eating bad, doesn't equate to a good outcome. I was telling her when I first started really, really doing shows, you're on the road, you're driving to Montana, you get there, you do the show, or you load in, you do the show, you're at the venue, you don't have time to get dinner, you do the show, after the show, you go eat something terrible and then go to sleep on it, and that can become the norm, because a lot of, like you said, a lot of the times McDonald's is in your face at 1, 2 in the morning, Taco Bell's in your face. So I think like maintaining some type of mindset of protecting your health and little things like you said, like stretching out, having enough room, or even like the sometimes when you're on the road, you think about, and if you're running on a shoestring budget, you think $10 more or $20 more for a better hotel room is gonna kill you, but you don't realize that cleaner hotel room will save you a whole lot of headaches. A nicer bed will make you feel better when you gotta get up and drive 8 hours the next day, you know, and you're in a van full of people. And then again, like just the mental part of, if you watch most bands and most groups, most of them don't last. And a lot of that comes from touring and being on the road when you find out, I don't like this person next to me, you know what I'm saying? Or they've, you know, if you start getting more momentum, one person in the band feels like they're bigger than everybody else. So you have this cat who might even do less work than everybody that contributes to just an overall bad vibe of being on the tour, because you got to live with people, you know? And then another thing is, like you said, your relationship. You might be fighting with your woman on the road, you eating bad, drinking gin every night, eating McDonald's, you know? And so that's just not a healthy lifestyle overall, you know what I'm saying? And on top of that, the stress of like, you know, my wife called and she had a bad morning dropping my son off, and I got to sit and listen to that. And that was the jump start of my day, you know, after going to bed at 3 a.m, waking up at 7 to that, and eating at a truck stop, or figuring out if you're going to be able to take a shower, you know what I'm saying? Like, all of those things contribute to the ability to be able to last on the road, because nothing's worse than like being on the road with somebody and they're having health problems. You got to stop by the urgent care or, you know, emergency room or whatever. So I think one of the important things is like working out, even if it's just push-ups, jumping jacks, whatever you can do, stretching, like you said, making sure that you're eating, like, even if it's just chicken, a salad, some fruit on a daily basis, so that your body's working right for you. Because I know from personal experience, I probably gained, I gained like 40, 50 pounds when I started touring, you know, not started through the course, you know, of just being on the road, and it's fun, you know, it was fun, hella fun. But at the same time, like, you got to knock that off, you know, and get back on track. So I would just say, like, to everything you said, from the mental space, the physical space, your dietary space, and even just like, I see even now how hard it is to even get good food. Like, it's hard to get good food, especially late hours of the night. Even in normal life, when you moving real fast, it's stressful. And you got to feed other people, you know? And somebody's complaining, like, they want spinach salads all the time, and I want it fresh, and I need these kind of olives, and I need this and that, you know? So I would just say, just protect your energy, protect your space.
Have we been working for the same person? Spinach salad with the olives? Really?
That's the thing, is like, when you start really, really working and you around people, it's like being around your family, like being around your little brother that don't like chocolate chip pancakes. You know what I mean? Like, for real, like, touring with people and living with them is crazy, especially if you don't know them like that. The worst thing you can do is show up somewhere with 5, 6 people you don't know, and you got to live with them on a bus, you know, sleeping across the walkway from you, and then you find out he don't like to take showers. The other one down from him, you know, he want to smoke cigarettes all the time. Then the one on the third bunk up, you know, he's a drunk. So, like, you have 3 different personalities that you're dealing with, on top of trying to, like, protect your mindset and your space. So that stuff is important. The mental stuff and the physical stuff is so important about even being successful, you know? And don't discount that. Like, take care of your body, take care of your mind, because it's not even just about being on the road. It's about coming back home, making music, being the best you can be, producing at a high level, and even attempting not even just to be successful, but like one of the things you said that was important, having fun. Like, this shit should be fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, when it comes to music, music should be fun. If you get to tour and play music, it should be fun. Like, I remember first time pulling up in somewhere like Klamath Falls, and I'm doing a show. I never thought I'd be, what am I doing in Klamath Falls? Like, that shit is fun. You know what I'm saying? Like, my music has me 400 or how many miles from home playing my music for people I don't know, and this is fun. We shouldn't be fighting, we shouldn't be, sick. It should be fun. So that's the main thing for me.
Yeah.
Anything further on health?
I mean, I just have like a couple shoestring budget things that we do that really help a lot. We actually have a cooler in our car. You can get one that plugs in that keeps it cool. A little hack, just like go get all your groceries in the morning, like hummus bread, arugula, meats, cheeses, whatever people want, orange juice, and just keep it in the cooler. When people get food out, when they want their leftovers, they can order whatever they want, put it in the cooler. We stopped requesting as much alcohol on our rider. We actually replaced that with a bunch of food that we could take with us and put in our cooler. And we take everything from the green room when we, take it all. Yeah, just take it all.
That
Leave
is
nothing
great.
behind.
My grandmother would love you.
That's it. Yeah.
Bottom line, you've already paid for that, right? You come out of your end, so leave it in the green room, that's your money you're receiving.
Yeah, we put a bunch of kombuchas on our rider, and that really helps a lot. in the day.
Take them. More than you can drink, take them.
So if you're planning, so let's say that there are people in the room that are thinking of maybe they're going to do a tour, say Seattle area. So keeping it, somewhat local, but you still have to plan that. If I were planning to do that next summer, which I am, when would one start a well-organized logistical planning and booking of a tour of that sort?
I guess that I mostly deal with it sort of once it's been booked already. So the booking side of it, usually we find out about the dates between 6 months and a year out. If you're lucky, sometimes it's more like 6 weeks or 8 weeks or whatever before the start of the tour. But I'm reaching out to venues, in an ideal world, I'm reaching out to venues 6 months out because we carry production that affects ticket sales. So before the show goes on sale, I have to make sure that projectors aren't going to go in seats or that stuff like that's going to happen. But on a more when I'm doing a club tour, I'm trying to do 3-ish weeks just so I can get my bus routing down and make sure I'm going to have parking for everybody, and so that I can make sure that I can use any hotel deals that the venue has to offer. So I'd say minimum 3-ish weeks, but I'm kind of an eager beaver, so sometimes people don't want to respond to you until much closer to the date, which can be stressful.
And I mean, if you're self-booking it, I would start now, because do you have a booking agent?
And we do it all ourselves.
So if you're self-booking it, here's the thing, is that booking agencies, they get a bunch of holds at venues way in advance, even before they have artists to fill those slots. And so they can if you have a booking agent, they can swap artists in much closer to the date. But if you're DIY, you need to get those holds and get those confirmations way earlier, unfortunately. And just also need to be able to go through your plan A, plan B, plan C venues, and just need as much time as possible. So I would say now would be the best time. But there are a lot of options, because there are a lot, especially in Seattle area, you have your clubs and you have your small venues, but then you have your really cool DIY spaces and your all ages venues and your house shows, and there's a whole list that you can go through, and they're all cool for different reasons. So yeah.
Logistics?
Yeah, the technical advance, I think, which is also my world most of the time, technical and food and travel stuff, it's definitely going to depend on where you are, what kind of staff you're working with. If you're in somebody's basement, it might kind of happen that day. I feel like the rule of thumb is, as soon as you have it locked as soon as you have the date locked, is a great time. Well, as soon as when the contract is signed, your rider goes with that, and so the basic essence of what you're trying to do is something that they sign off on. They agree, yes, we looked at this, we understand. If we claim to have not read this later, then you can point at this thing and say, yes, you did. You knew there would be a projector in the seats. You can't sell those, sorry. And then no later than 30 days for the initiating the real, like the redlining and the back and forth of where's this coming from? If there's backline, do I have a backline pull from you that I can mark up so we can figure out where to get, an Aguilar amp in Tulsa? You can't. Okay, great. What are we going to do instead, etc.
And sometimes you have to get your own insurance. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. I think you always want to, if you're in that position, because that can be an extra cost of carrying, extra policies and stuff. I think that depends on the tour and if you have your business at a certain level, but it's definitely worth having all of those bases covered because there's so many things that can happen and go wrong on the road. Yeah.
General liability is your friend. Yeah, if you can.
What do you do about, one of the things, probably once a month, somebody that I really respect and admire rolls through Portland and gets all their shit stolen. And it's like, but what do you do when you're living in your, people go, don't leave it in the van, but how do you mitigate theft?
This comes back to the more expensive hotel. Yeah. There's an Econo Lodge on Market in San Francisco where everyone was getting their stuff stolen for years. But if you can be in a slightly nicer neighborhood, you park the trailer backed up to a wall. Maybe someone sleeps in it. But an inland marine insurance policy you can get as a rider from your regular insurance agent, and you can give them a manifest of all your equipment, and that will cover damage and I believe theft. So check into that before you leave, before you need it. But I mean, between having someone sleep in the van and making sure you park in a safe neighborhood in a safe way, that's sort of the only options.
Yeah, sure.
Oh.
It was very intense.
And also, just if you ever plan on touring, and this goes into like you were saying, especially about San Francisco and the Bay Area, do not leave anything in your car at any time, any given time. When I say any given time, I mean like the Bay Area, Oakland, Frisco. And I don't know if you ever heard of a thing. It's called bipping. It's called bipping, and you could park your car, if this is the venue, this car right here, your car could be right here, like we're here right now. They'll pull up on the side of your car on the street side, bust your window, grab all your shit instantly. We've had it happen twice. We were on tour, broad daylight, sunny day, 80-degree day, right in front of the venue. We go in the venue, we're just going in, checking the venue, come out 10 minutes later, they already hit the window, took my boy's gear bag, laptop, everything. So if you're on the road in the Bay, and I'm talking about not even 1 minute, don't leave 1 minute. If you got gear, laptops, computers, your purse, anything. Even last time I was going to the airport on a rental car shuttle, I'm in there with 2 older women. They just have all of their luggage stolen, and this is in the valet. And that's just one thing I would tell anybody. If you plan on hitting the road, California Bay Area, you will get everything taken instantaneously at the most. When you think it's not even possible, you know what I'm saying? It's like you're under attack at every moment. So anytime you go watch videos of it, and it'll give you perspective of stuff that we get comfortable with here. I'm just gonna leave my laptop bag in the car, run in and grab coffee. Do not do it. They will sit across the street and watch you, and you'll come back and everything is gone. So if you're a touring artist, even if you're traveling on vacation, you go to the Bay Area with your kids, with your family, anything, don't leave nothing in the car at all.
Good to know. Are you guys thinking up any questions that you'd like to ask the panel as we start to move in? Okay, and I'm gonna just, if you don't mind sharing a microphone, I'm gonna just hand this out to people.
I know that when Sam reached out, you talked a little bit more about some resources for health and stuff like that. I'm really curious for you, like, since they didn't read that email, if you could share some of that. And something that we didn't really talk a whole lot about is like addiction on the road or recovery and stuff like that. So health means a lot of things, and I didn't even think about that piece of it. And when you said that, I was like, oh yeah, that's awesome. So please, if you could share some of that.
Sure, yeah. I guess I'll start with the easiest one. So physical health we talked about a little bit, but we're all spending a lot of time sitting. There's a lot of travel, whether you're in planes, whether you're in buses, whether you're in vans. So finding a way to get physically active, whether that's walking around town or actually, so when I was on tour with the National, we all, like the whole crew would get together and do the 7-minute workout for the 7 minutes before doors. And it was like a total improvement in everyone's day. Like everyone's got 7 minutes, no matter how busy you are, whether you're the tour manager, you gotta get the guest list in, whether you're warming up for the show, whatever it is, you've got 7 minutes, do something together, get sweaty and like get your heart rate moving. And then I guess the sort of stickier issue there is one of mental health. Those of us who are seeing a therapist back home, it can be difficult to get that to continue on the road because there are legal roadblocks. There are workarounds. They can, like your home therapist can do a session with you as like a quote unquote coaching session, but it's something that you need to set up in advance and make sure that they're aware of. Additionally, there are music industry organizations like Backline Cares, like the Roadie Clinic, that are designed to work with people like us, people in the music business, people who tour, people who play gigs for a living, where you don't have to spend the whole first session explaining to them what it's like to play a show, what it's like to be in a different town every night. You can actually get into the nitty-gritty of the issues right away. Additionally, there is a touring handbook, and maybe I can just send you guys the link to it. I think there's 8 copies at Powell's right now, but like a touring mental health handbook that was created and put out during the pandemic it's like Bible length, it's enormous, and Tamsin Embleton did a beautiful job writing that thing up. It's just amazing. And then lastly, Music Cares, like I think we all kind of maybe laugh at the Grammys a little bit, but they have this beautiful foundation that does this Music Cares thing where there are support groups, they'll make you earplugs, there's all sorts of great opportunities out there to get care for people who do the awesome thing that we do. One thing about if your stuff gets stolen, Music Cares will also give you a grant to buy all new shit. So when your band gets broken into, call the Grammys.
That's awesome. Who's got a question? Anybody got a question? You want to?
Speak to them. Oh, thank you.
Okay.
Just 2 really dumb things, maybe, which is one, that routine is your friend, if you can find it. Having stuff that makes the place you're sleeping your home when you're in there. And people I've worked for who like really tour have like, they set it up. It's like, yep, this is my hotel room, these are the things that I set up, it's always the same, I know I'm back, and it works. Same as for your time, even in dynamic things where everything's changing constantly. And for a tour manager, also this has to do with like managing when you leave and stuff, so you're managing how much stress there is about getting there late. But the more things can be routinized, the less energy is spent on that. And the last thing is discuss how you're going to handle communication with your loved ones before you leave. Have a plan together that you can check in on together that is subject to change when you've decided what it's going to be. It will be harder to do that while you're doing it. The end.
Any questions? All right, great. Tell us your name.
Hello, I'm Sherry Jameson, and my background is primarily in the performing arts touring sector, where there are these incredible organizations that put on big conferences with showcasing and booking agents sharing, their rosters with all of these presenting organizations. And so I understand how booking and touring happens in that sector, but how does that differ from the commercial music industry?
Who wants to tackle that?
I guess I'll start just from the entry level way because that's where I kind of got started. Because there are so many different, as you go up in level, it changes completely, I think. And if you're an artist who's just starting out, which is, I think, a lot of us are going to experience that if we haven't already, it really just comes down to sending out as many emails as you can and getting your content to look as good as you possibly can, so that when you get that very polished email together, bookers of venues are actually going to open that email. And like contacts are your friends, so like networking, talking to other bands, getting make a spreadsheet of the routing that you want, and then all the potential venues and all the potential contacts that you have who could say, hey, here's my buddy's band, you should book them, I play here too. That is really the only way, the best way to start is through your friends, and by getting your content to look as good as possible. And then after you do that for a while, that's where you might graduate to getting a booking agent, which either they'll find you or you'll approach them. And then after that, your booking agent is going to be the one who gets all your holds for you and books your tours for you. And it's like the gap between booking it for yourself and getting a booking agent is like the hardest one to bridge often. But I think it's a really valuable experience to book your own tours because you have to understand how that works, how routing works, and you have to make some mistakes out there. And I think that sets you up for success later on because you understand when things don't work the way you expect them to, like why they don't work. And you're used to interfacing with venues on your own, like dealing with advances and how to send the venue your stage plot and your input list and your writer and how to read a door split, like reading contracts and understanding all of that. It's super valuable. And I know a lot of bands who never learn how to do that and get screwed over because they didn't read their contract properly. So it's all really important stuff. I think it's really valuable to get in on your own as well. But having a booking agent is also very helpful and nice, and it's both good.
I have a question for the audience. So you've heard horror stories and you've heard ambitions and ways to do it right. What's the biggest thing that you would like from an organization that could help you where you are right now in touring? And if you have ideas, you can shout them out, or you can just ruminate on it. That's what an organization is set up to do. And we've got the Musicians Union. They offer insurance packages, special discount insurance packages. And there's lots of different organizations, like figuring out what the gaps are. How can we help? How can we make this easier? We're building out the Cascadia Music Corridor to try and make it easier to find the places you can book. There are affinity places that are going to dig what you do with ready-made audiences. What else? Gas cards. Let's think creatively. Let's come up with what can be possible.
Hi. You want me to go up there? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
I'm a touring musician. It'll be 30 years in June with the same band. So we've gone from the tiniest to fairly successful. And the level we're at now still requires quite a bit of DIY. I would consider us like a blue-collar touring band. And so what I've noticed is we're alone out there as far as finding peers and colleagues to ask, how's it going? What are you doing? How are you negotiating this? How are you making this better in your life? I just had an opportunity to co-headline a tour, so it wasn't an opener, a middle, and a headline. It was two peer groups that were able to trade notes. And it was so profound to go, well, we're doing it this way. Oh, wait, we're doing it this way. I just did the math on that, and you're coming out better. And to have that, where do we go to find the peers at our level to share notes on these little DIY hacks? I would love that.
Yeah, I love that. Come on, I know you guys are smart. Come and find us. Talk to Renee, talk to me. Let's get creative.
Do we have time to just ask the panel to share a really rewarding, inspirational moment that keeps you doing this? Because I'm assuming that touring is the harder part of being a musician, but it must have, like, you shared a little. But what's an example or two of something totally freaking awesome that happened on a tour?
I think the hardest part is sometimes as you play music, and I think some of the things she touched on back there is like when you start having doubts or, you know, you questioning what you're doing or you don't have certain resources, so you start feeling like, and even for me, I've been in this music business for a long time in a number of capacities as an artist, as a tour manager, producing shows, and doing a lot of stuff. But one of the most rewarding things for me was it last January, I had took my son on a cruise. Me and him went for Christmas just to spend time together. And a buddy of mine had called me about doing some shows with Jizza from the Wu-Tang, and it would have been right when I came back from from vacation. But the biggest thing I'm thinking about, I had already been gone for like a week with my son, spent a bunch of money with him, then we're coming back. And of course my wife had a break from my son because I had him. But I'm also thinking of like, okay, I was gone for a week, spending money, coming back. Should I go do these shows? And they were Seattle, Victoria, Vancouver, BC. And sometimes even for myself, because I navigate through so many different worlds in the music as a performer, and then on the backside of business, I feel like I'm not putting enough energy and effort into the creative part. So I start feeling detached from that because I'm not in artist mode all the time. And when I say artist mode, that's a time where you kind of gotta be in that mode. Like you're in pursuit of getting more fans. You're in pursuit of exposing your music to more people. You're in pursuit of promoting yourself. You know what I mean? You're in pursuit of looking for the next opportunity. And so I decided to go do these shows, and to me, with all the stuff I've done, these were probably some of the most validating moments because I was at a point where sometimes I'm like, do I want to keep doing music? Do I not want to do music? But I know I'm still good at it. I know I really, really make good music, but again, I'm not a young whippersnapper no more. So I'm not, just to be real, like the youngsters, they create the culture and the wave and what's hot and what's the next thing. So I'm sometimes in a mode like I'm just making music to make music. And then I fall back and then I'm tour managing, and then I'm doing other stuff. But the music is what fueled everything I'm doing for who I am. And I went and did these shows, and everything from the performance, the sound, merch, the reception I got from the fans, the part about having fun, it was all there. And it validated why I did these shows. And had I not did these shows, I would have still been in a place of kind of like going into like doubt where I am as an artist, But it was one of them things where it gave me a whole nother second wind to keep, and I don't want to say keep pushing because I'm always pushing. I don't slow down, but there's a difference between pushing and there's a difference between the organic feeling of you connecting. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different when you connecting.
I guess there were two moments. The last tour I went on was our first full band tour in Europe. I went on a few Europe tours just as a duo, and this was our first time taking the band. And two things. One, we didn't have like a significant fan base in a lot of the cities. We'd never been over there before, but we had all agreed that it was our fun run, and we really, some of us hadn't been to a lot of those countries. Like we just really, really wanted to go. And this was an opportunity to basically get a European trip paid for by the band and by the tour. And we didn't go in expecting to make any money. And to be honest, it was like the most fun I've ever had on tour. And I don't expect to ever be like a 1%er. I don't expect to ever even be like upper class, you know, in terms of like the amount of money I'm gonna make. But the secret about being a touring musician is when you go places, people want to treat you often to things that you are not going to be able to afford in your regular life. And those moments are so much more special because they come to you unexpectedly. And so to go to a town in Spain and have them serve you like a 3-course, 4-course meal that you never would have chosen to pay for yourself, and they're like, here you go. Like, you enjoy that so much more than you would if you had to choose to pay for that. And that is kind of a priceless thing about touring, and the people that you meet, and the fact that you called it being a tourist, which is funny because I find that when I travel not as a touring musician, that's the only time I don't feel like a tourist, when I'm traveling, because everywhere you go, people don't see you as someone who's consuming their culture. They see you as someone who's giving back to it. And I think that's a really special thing, because you can go to a town in Spain or Germany and they're not like, oh, you're an American tourist. They're like, thank you for coming. Thank you for giving us your music. Here, let me show you what we have to offer you. And it's this beautiful exchange. And the reason why we do it is right there. Also, we played this town in we played Glasgow in Scotland, in this venue that was very cool called Nice and Sleazy. And actually, everyone who heard about the venue was like, that's actually really an awesome space. And it wasn't the best attended show. We've never played in Scotland. We never had the numbers in Scotland according to our streaming, and so like we didn't expect anything. But there was one person in the audience who, after the show, was extremely excited, bought all the merch, and apparently she had been listening to our music since I put out my first EP in 2017, before I had any support, any label, anything at all. And she'd been listening ever since then, and waiting for the day that this Portland indie band came to Glasgow. She's like, they're coming to Glasgow. And I was like, I'm so glad we put on a good show, because for that person, that meant so much that we made it to her town. And that's what you have to remember when you're on tour, is there might be someone there who's been waiting for you to come to their little town. And that's why we do it.
I think the coolest thing, or the thing that keeps me coming back, it's sort of like with you, but it's the sound that the people make when the band walks on stage. We stopped touring in March 2013 or 2020. We were like one of the last people to go out to come home. And then when we came back in late 2021, I walk the band on stage, go for house lights, the lights come down, and this sound that I had thought I would never hear again comes, and I got goosebumps, and I like doubled over in tears backstage, because it's just like, it's a feeling that I cannot explain. Like when a crowd of people are all focused positively on one thing, it's like this expression of love that I think we're lucky to get to put out there into the world, to facilitate or to create ourselves. It's why we're all in this room, right? So yeah, being able to experience that and to make that happen, that's why we're here.
Thanks for going after you. I've been thinking about, so I mix front of house in Portland when I'm not traveling, and I had an experience maybe in October or something, where I was working at Mississippi Studios a bunch, and there were just a bunch of country bands in a row from like middle of nowhere parts of Texas and the Southeast, and all kind of, I know alt country is a term, but they were like alt ass country.
That's the way we like it.
Yeah, like y'all grew up doing this, and this is actually from a place. And this guy came up to me at front of house, maybe the third show in a couple of weeks that was like this, and was like, I didn't know these guys, it's so good to see you again, first of all, because he'd been at the other two. I didn't know these guys were gonna be here. It was my payday, and I had to drop the $20 on coming down, and it's so good to see you again. And in Portland, there's this crew of weirdos from the rural Southeast who did not fit in there and feel at home here, but need a little bit of that. And that's where they go. And they're so grateful. It's like, thank God, is the energy in the room. And you don't get that every night. Yeah, I've been thinking about that. I've been thinking about situations where people get to be fully themselves, and situations where you as a manager, as a technical person, get to set up your artists to be fully themselves, be outside of the realm of the everyday for a little bit, and propose a way that you can be in the world to an audience that they might not know existed. Move things along that way. So, it's a little mental backflip sometimes, but I think you're tired, but that's what it's about, I think, for me right now today.
Thank you very much. Let's give a big thank you to Strum for hosting us. Deeply appreciate it. Your space is so beautiful, and thank you for your dedication to music and in a challenging climate at times. Thank you for everything that you're doing to make this space really vibrant and multi-purpose. I mean, it's just really an inspirational venue and retail space too. So thank you. Unless we have other questions, I'd love for us to give Bruce, come in.
I have one comment. Bruce Fife, I'm part of the Musicians Union. The person that asked the question about networking out there in the clubs, the AFM has a website called venuology.org, that is completely underutilized. Nobody goes to it, but its whole purpose is for musicians to go in and put in information about the various venues they play so that other musicians can go there and find out what those venues are like. So I encourage everybody to go to venuology.org. What you'll see is it says it's in beta testing right now. It's really not. This is a rebirth of it, but take a look at it, and that has always been our goal for that to be, you can call it the Yelp of clubs, but whatever you want to call it, it's there.
Thank you. All right, great. Well, we're going to take some time to mingle, hug, do all the things that we do when we get to see each other. Let's give it up for Amira and Music Portland.
All right, y'all, just have fun.
Thank you to the panel.